they will all end up with negative 1 unit of pay, right, coming from the pollution. Either you have more floods, right, so you have to clean up, or you have bushfires. Bushfires. You know, did you realize that since Mr. Bush became president, the US stopped using the word bushfires? I noticed that actually. It just dropped off. When Clinton was there, it was always bushfires, and then suddenly it's wildfires. So here, that is what you hear if they don't cooperate. This is, if this goes low and this goes high, then country 2 is the winner actually. Goes over 2 and vice versa. So this is one metric. And the A, and if I can read A here for you, in case A, an agreement to cap emissions is reached when there are no cost of controlling emissions. So this table here, we are just looking at the benefits to the countries for controlling emissions. We are not counting the cost. And if you do that, actually, they will all agree to do this. They will all agree to go low. If there's no cost, we'll all do it, right? So that is where it will be. But we all know that that is unrealistic because there are indeed costs involved. So what this panel does is to introduce a control cost, the cost of controlling emissions. So we make the model a bit more realistic, right? Initially, we just look at the benefit and everybody's happy. Less CO2, we all make if there are no costs. But if we introduce cost of controlling emission, country A can control a unit of emission at $3 per year, whilst country B does the same, 1 unit at 6 units per year. So one country is a high-cost country, and another is a low-cost country. That will be dictated by, again, by your economy. You can easily see that the US will be a high-cost country, and Sweden may be a low-cost one, right? For obvious reasons. Denmark, I just read Denmark, they started something really amazing. They have bicycle superhighways. Have you heard about that? So they've made the first one, it's 26 kilometers around Copenhagen. No nothing, no cars. And it's a highway, they make the pavement so smooth, you love to ride on it. And they're going to make a number of them around the city. Wonderful, right? So they just cycle to work 30 minutes and get fit and save the environment and feel good. So that could be Denmark here. And then you go to US, you just have to drive in New York, and you see that the city is built for cars. Right? You have lanes of 16 lanes, packed with cars. So it's high cost there. So that comes into play. All right. So if you use this information now and you modify that, this is what you get. All we do is that we deduct the cost when you reduce your emission. We deduct, for example, here. To do low, in this country will get this gross benefit, but they have to deduct $3, right? So you end up with only 1 net. Okay? And this country will have to do the same. And there's $6, so 8 minus 6 will give you 2. Right? But look at it. If they don't reduce their emission, the payoffs remain the same. There's no cost because you're not doing anything. So this payoff is the same as that. And this is changed depending on who is doing the low. Right? Like these guys, if they do low, that means this is a benefit of 1 minus 6 will give minus 5, right? And vice versa. So we've adjusted this for the cost of controlling emission. And now, what equilibrium will they, what will this settle for? If you look at this carefully, actually there will be no agreement here. Let's see what it says. In case B, no agreement is reached because if either party deviates to the high emission state, the losses to the country that reduces its emissions will exceed its losses if both continue to release high emissions. So this is actually the prisoner's dilemma situation. There's no solution because Kyoto never gets done, right? That's our world actually. Because you here you are. So you end up in a bad situation here. And this can be very annoying for this country here, the low-cost country. They can move, but another country will not. So we are in a mess and we are left with high costs. So what do you do? And this has really practical implications. So here, what is happening is that the control cost, somehow, this high-cost country, this low-cost country, has found a way to actually even be more efficient at reducing their cost of controlling emissions, like introducing bicycle superhighways, right? Because then you can get away with your car and still be functional, or one of your cars. So the cost of society has come. So they discover something. But these guys are still doing the old thing, right? So it's still $6. So they are very high cost. Now, if you use this data and you modify, you can actually use modify this by that. So now, country A will sit down with 3 units of benefit because it's 4 minus 1, right? Whilst country 6 is with 2, like before, because they haven't improved their situation. So you now have this thing here. And this is where country A really becomes very pissed off, right? So for them, they will always want low emissions. See, if country A stays here, it will make 3 units, right? And that is nice. They would love to be here. Because even if they go high, see, if they go high, they don't get anything, really. They lose. So country A would like to be here. But if country B is strategic, like the theory says, once they know that country A will always love to be here, what will they choose to do? They will go high. They will go high. So country A will not say, even though they found a way to reduce their costs, they have no benefit, while these guys run off with a lot of benefit. So this can be quite painful for President if you're in the world. And I think the climate debate is really about here at the moment. So KC illustrates a situation where country A has discovered a technology that dramatically reduces control costs. It will now cut its emissions regardless of what country B has. Because they found a way and it's cheaper, so they will do it. But doing it, it's not good for them because the other country will drag them to a box that doesn't pay them. So this is just a little model that explains a lot of what you see in the media and the politics and all. And we can go into discussion. If you are country B, you start saying, my God, what do I do to get these guys to actually move here? Right? Taking developing countries, there's a lot of that comes into the discussion. Okay, the developer has the technology to do this. So if they are low cost, but how about the developing countries? So then you put structures in the agreement to try to get movement. And that's why they have holidays, for example. So we let them unpark a bit for some years while they learn. Or we give them transfer technology, right? There are various things you can, or actually if you can threaten them, you threaten them with a bomb. You know. Sometimes this happens, right? Trade sanctions and all that. So, yeah. Yes.
Climate change is a global problem, and I think it's wrong to separate the benefits of global country. You know, we have to keep the global benefits.
She's nice, isn't she? I would love to think that way, but the countries won't think that way. That's the saddest part of it, right? You're right. If we all just think that this is a global village, that's precisely what we will do, but they don't do that. And that is why, if you look at the climate debate, I don't have time to talk about climate change here. If you look at it now, there's a lot of talk about adaptation. Yeah, and that's because they're just thinking about themselves. Yeah, they don't want to talk about mitigation, right? So the water is falling, I protect my head. That's what they do essentially. But the real solution is to say, let's stop the emissions because the whole world, you keep protecting your head until you probably cannot. Yeah, but that's really, she's touching something big here.
No, but I mean, it's in the middle of a prisoner's dilemma and a cooperative game because the fact that everybody comes to the table means they accept that it's a global problem. That's where it's getting, and now externalities have not been added here. The fact that country A's emissions affect country
Actually, it is. That's why the bottom table is like that. That's why if country B continues to meet it, the benefits to these guys goes down. So they suffer.
Yeah, but they are not paying the cost.
They are not.
They are not being penalized.
No, they are not. And you don't have the capacity to penalize them. That's
Yeah.
our function.
So setting up the international fund essentially getting there. So it's accepted that it's a global problem and it's heading towards the cooperative game. There is not a choice.
In theory, we all agree, right? I told you about my experience in the US Senate. They said we all agree. And then they go down and they do the opposite thing. Right? Yeah, so yeah, because you cannot argue about this. It's so comprehensive theory. But then when the rubber hits the road, self-interest always stands in the way. Yeah.
I'm wondering if there is some factors that could affect morality, such as those things in economic models, because sometimes we're talking about environment, about problems. Even we are also doing the science of the climate change, but I'm sure a lot of people are still using cars or these things. We are totally Christian, I think. I don't know if there exists any model that can add the morality factor in theories.
Yeah. So cognitive now.
Yeah, of course. Even the evolutionary game theory thing brings that the oral models. Yeah. So there are various ways you can modify this, no question about that. You know, this model is a deterministic model. We know everything. We can calculate our payout beautifully and neatly, right? But that's what you can do in a model, right? Yeah. So reality is.
I think the interesting thing we're seeing in the world, which is a little bit coming from this, is that countries like Denmark, Sweden, Norway, etc., realise that if they're the early initiators of some of these strategic positionings in power, in power management, that they will be the Danish engineers who are going to America and making vast amounts of money.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Yes.
It's frustrating watching coming from Australia.
Absolutely.
That we are the best country in the world for energy, alternative energy, and we are just losing.
You're losing now. Yeah.
We're losing the game.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So this is the thing, you know, it's happening. It's the same thing with fish. I was at the Africa Policy Day, and I told them, I think that countries that learn how to manage their fish stocks sustainably will be the winners in the future, right? Not only will you have the fish, but some people will soon have to come to you to learn how to do it. And this is really, really a powerful one. That never gets into debate in a big country like USA. It's crowded out, actually. So it's could be a big opportunity for businesses, right? But they don't see it. The short-term costs are just clouding everything out, sadly. Oh, these are the countries of the future, the Denmarks of the world.
Problem is for shared stock. You will the country can manage sustainably if the shared stock.
No, it doesn't work. Yeah, it's the same thing as this. So you are good. You find a way to do it, but you still don't get anywhere because it's a shared environment.
Except what we've found when we've applied it at an ecosystem level, not just a single stock, it always benefits you to manage well in the shared stock. It's an incremental increase if both sides are doing well, then obviously the stock is that much better. But at a system interaction level, because of the feedbacks, if you're, say, Russia and America trying to look after the Bering Sea, even if one side isn't doing anything, the other side should, because it always leads to a better.
It leads to a benefit to
themselves,
not just
to
the other person. Okay, and this benefit is more than the cost of doing something. Okay, if you can show that, that's really a good driver, right? Yeah. So this is really, these are all good points why some countries they are not entirely stupid, as it would seem. Right? It's just thinking more long term and more broadly, and you see that hey, these are business opportunities. But sometimes you take action because you are not a rational person. You are what Amata saying would call a rational fool. You know that concept? I love it. Rational fool, right? So you know this is the right.